Oh, hello, and welcome back to Soul Stained Ink. My name is Beth, and since we finished up the Toil and Trouble-a-thon a couple of days ago, I thought I would bring you my wrap up. Now, if you don't know what the Toil and Trouble-a-thon is, it was a readathon that I co-hosted with its creator, Jordan from The Bookie Babe, Jen from Batman Reads Books, and Megan Sue from the Restricted Section. We had a lot of fun creating it and co hosting it for you guys, and it was just a fabulous time. It was a 2 week readathon focusing more on the kind of witchy books. So we had five five challenges, and they were fairly simple challenges. The first one was to watch a movie with a witch in it. The second one was to read a book with witch in the title. The third one was read a fairy tale with a witch in it. The fourth one was review a book in the guise of a fortune teller. And number five was read the first book that comes into your mind when you hear the word witch. So I'm going to very quickly go through the books that I've read in the last 2 weeks because it started on May 2nd and ended on May 16th. I am going to just tell you everything I have read in that time period and make a note for if it was the original thing that I was going to do for a certain challenge. Let's get started. First, for the movies, I watched The Wizard of Oz and Practical Magic. I also watched several hours of the show Once Upon a Time, so I think I probably watched the equivalent of 4 to 5 movies that had witches in them. Uh, and I loved every second of it, obviously. I watched this one with my daughter because I read to her the book The Wizard of Oz. She is 4.5, and this was her first disappointing adaptation. And now this video will be around so that I remember it always. Seriously, she kept telling me all the things that the movie did wrong, like the shoes are the wrong color in the movie. They're supposed to be silver, not ruby. Um, the portrayal of Glinda as a tall blonde woman is incorrect. She's short and old, not this youthful, happy go lucky. She's more like a munchkin. The trees in the book never threw apples at people and they were just rude. And also, the scarecrow should stop talking down on himself. Those are all the things that happened in the first like half hour of the movie that my kid was like, "Mom, that is so wrong. That is not how that worked." Yeah. She even had an issue with the fact because the book says that Dorothy lived in like a one-room farmhouse, and Dorothy's going through all these doors, checking other rooms in the farmhouse in the beginning of the movie, and she was like, "There shouldn't be doors. It said one room." Right. So anyway, like I said, I read The Wizard of Oz to her, so obviously that is the book that came to mind when I thought of a witch. Now, The Man Who Was Poe by Avi I read on May 1st, but I incorporated it into the readathon by having this be the book that I dressed up as a fortune teller and reviewed. I also read The Magician's Nephew. Oh, I gave The Man Who Was Poe a 3 star. The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Now, this is the book with Witch in the title that I read, and The Magician's Nephew obviously comes before The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Both of those are rereads and two of my favorite books. I gave them both 5 stars. Wicked by Gregory Maguire. I wanted to uh, read this for the longest time, and here's The Wizard of Oz, by the way. I wanted to read this one for the longest time, but it is dense and it's middle grade May along with Toil and Trouble-a-thon, and I wound up putting this down, not picking it back up. I will pick it up later on in like June or July, but right now I'm going to focus on reading middle grade books. So, yeah. I also read a book called Wikipedia by Chris Van Etten. I borrowed that from the library and Ari took it back. It doesn't actually have any magic in it, so it doesn't really count for Toil and Trouble-a-thon, but I thought I would tell you about it anyway. I gave it a 3 stars. I read Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander and J.K. Rowling. I gave that a 4 star. Like I said, The Wizard of Oz, we gave a 5 star. Actually, Elena gave it a 1,000 stars, but Goodreads wouldn't let me do that. I also read The Tales of Beetle the Bard, translated by Hermione Granger and J.K. Rowling. Gave that one a 5 star. I read The Wicked Wicked Ladies in the Haunted House by Mary Chase, gave that one a 4 star. It was creepy and different, and definitely a really good example of a middle grade chiller kind of book with magic in it. It was very definitely a good read. I gave it 4 stars. I tried Furthermore by Tahara Mafi, and I gave it up. I just could not handle the writing style. It just bugs me. Like you can see right here, the writing style really bugs me. Uh, DNF'd. I wanted to DNF at the end of page one, and I gave it 2 chapters. And by the time I got through halfway through chapter three, I was like, no, I cannot. Took until page 25 before she started explaining anything about the magic. And it was another, it may have been page 25, but I think it was a couple of pages after when we found out that Alice had no color. And I already knew that because of the synopsis. And just like, why did that take so long? And then I read The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. This is a book that I have owned for 3 years. It was in my classroom library. Kids loved it. I never picked it up, and I decided to read it because I've had it on my TBR for so long and I had just never done it, but so many people told me it was good, and it was really great. I finished it Tuesday night, right before the end of Toil and Trouble-a-thon, and I'm so glad that I picked it up. Absolutely a wonderful story. There were a couple of issues that I had with the writing style, like more towards the beginning, there's a lot of similes and metaphors, just like 4 or 5 per page, and you're going, what? Why? But it slowly calms down. And I think since it's the first book in the series, and I'm pretty sure it's the first novel he wrote, that Chris was getting into the story and into the characters and finally kind of relaxed into his own writing style. And I wound up really loving the book. I give it 4 stars, like 4.5 stars. Really, really a good read. It's got a very interesting premise, even if it is overly descriptive through the majority of it. I also listened to the audiobook of The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury, which I gave 5 stars. It was creepy and awesome. And yes, there are still some issues with it, of course, but on the whole, it was just amazing. I love how Ray incorporated all these different celebrations through history of All Hallows Eve, and how it used to be New Year's and how different cultures celebrated it, and how we've lost a lot of that as it became more and more just trick or treating instead of celebrating ancestors and the new year and things of that nature. I thought it was very interesting. It was a pretty short audiobook and very, very well done. Then I also listened to Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy. This was a re listen for me, but I listened to it almost exactly a year ago, like 13 months ago. And I was driving back and forth. I I thought I had listened to it um, back in August, but it turned out I had listened to it way before that. And I don't remember why I was listening to it because I started listening to audiobooks while I was driving. So maybe I was going to Texas, maybe it was one of my random spurts of going to the gym. But either way, I don't remember much about the story, or I didn't. There were large sections of the story I couldn't remember. I just totally missed out on. So, re listening to it, it actually had me upping my original 4 stars, which is like a 3.75 um, rating, to a 4.75 rating. So, on Goodreads, I gave it a full out 5 star. There are still issues, um, but I love the story. I love the characters. It just made me adore them even more. And I the next Skullduggery Pleasant audio to listen to, as well as getting the audio for the next Land of Stories, because the first book is the only one I currently own. So I will be continuing those series during middle grade May and talking to you more about them later on as well. And that is all I completed for Toil and Trouble-a-thon. So I believe I completed 15 books. Uh, 15 stories, 14 books, because I read two of the Grimm Brothers fairy tales. And if you count them as two separate books, then I did 15 books. uh, during the 2 weeks of the Toil and Trouble-a-thon. And I believe I have rambled on about that enough. So if you participated and would like to link any of your videos for the Toil and Trouble-a-thon or your wrap up or any of that down below, please do. Or if you just want to tell us about it, go for it. Do not hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys again real soon. Until next time, I hope that you have a wonderful day, you read something good, and you write something even better.